This video will inform fire station staff how to comply with Illinois Abandoned Newborn Infant Protection Act, also referred to as the Safe Haven Law. First, it will be helpful to know a few key definitions from the Act. Newborn infant means a child who a licensed physician reasonably believes is 30 days old or less at the time the child is initially relinquished, and who is not an abused or neglected child. Fire station is a fire station within the state with at least one staff person. Emergency medical professional includes licensed physicians and any emergency medical technician, emergency medical technician intermediate, advanced emergency medical technician, paramedic, trauma nurse specialist, and pre-hospital registered nurse, as defined in the Emergency Medical Services (EMS) Systems Act. Relinquish means to bring a newborn infant who a licensed physician reasonably believes is 30 days old or less to a hospital, police station, fire station, or emergency medical facility, and to leave the infant with personnel of the facility if the person does not express an intent to return for the infant or states that they will not return for the infant. In the 1990s, the incidence of newborn abandonment in dumpsters or other public places increased 62% across the country. In response, states began to enact laws that allowed desperate parents to relinquish or give up their newborn infants anonymously and without fear of prosecution to certain safe havens, which varied by state. Now, all 50 states have a version of the Safe Haven Law. Illinois enacted its law in 2001, and its official name is the Abandoned Newborn Infant Protection Act. In the last 25 years, our Illinois law has saved 162 babies. The Safe Haven Law intends to ensure the safety of newborns who might otherwise be illegally abandoned. The law provides a legal alternative to parents who may be under severe emotional distress or unable to provide for the basic needs of an infant. Under Illinois Safe Haven Law, a parent can safely and legally relinquish an unharmed infant 30 days old or less to personnel at a safe haven. They can remain anonymous if they so choose, and they will not be prosecuted. Here's a list of safe havens in Illinois where an infant can be relinquished, that is, turned over to a staff person. All safe havens must post a sign either by physical or electronic means in a conspicuous place on the exterior of the building. The sign must inform persons that a newborn infant may be relinquished at the facility. The Department of Children and Family Services, DCFS, has prescribed specifications for the signs and their placement to ensure statewide uniformity. For information, please see the Fire Station Safe Haven Training Guide. When a person brings an unharmed infant 30 days old or less to a safe haven, including a fire station, they may choose to speak to the staff person or not. They may say that they want to give up their infant and not return, or they may say nothing at all. Fire station personnel are not required to ask the person any questions. The person can remain anonymous if they choose and can leave the premises after handing over the infant to a staff person. Fire stations that are Illinois safe havens are required to accept an infant that is brought to them to be relinquished and provide necessary emergency services and care. A person bringing an infant to relinquish at a fire station must leave the infant with personnel. If the infant requires any emergency services, the fire station personnel must provide all necessary emergency services and care for the relinquished infant. No written consent or permissions are needed for appropriate staff to treat the infant. The act of relinquishing the infant constitutes implied consent for emergency medical professionals to treat and provide care for the infant to the extent they are trained to do so. Additional requirements are as follows. Arrange for the infant's transport. The fire station must arrange for the transport of the newborn infant to the nearest hospital as soon as transportation can be arranged. Respect the rights of the relinquishing person to remain anonymous and leave at any time. The act of relinquishing does not by itself constitute a basis for a finding of abuse, neglect, or abandonment. If there is no evidence of abuse or neglect of the infant, the relinquishing person has the right to remain anonymous. They also have the right to leave the fire station at any time and not be pursued or followed. However, the person is free to provide their identity if they choose to do so. If there is suspected child abuse or neglect that is not based solely on the newborn infant's relinquishment, personnel of the fire station who are mandated reporters under the Abused and Neglected Child Reporting Act must report the abuse or neglect pursuant to that act. The remaining requirements refer to the information for the relinquishing person and the prohibition on public disclosure of information about the relinquishment. Provide verbal information to the relinquishing person about how to regain custody. Before the relinquishing person leaves, the fire station personnel shall verbally inform the person that by relinquishing the child anonymously, they will have to petition the court if they want to prevent termination of parental rights and regain custody of the child. Offer the person the information described in the Act. Note that the person does not have to accept this information. Acceptance is completely voluntary. Please see the Fire Station Safe Haven Training Guide for details about the information to offer to the relinquishing person. Respond to a person seeking to reclaim the infant. If the person who relinquished the infant or a person claiming to be the parent of the relinquished newborn infant returns within 30 days to reclaim the infant, the fire station must inform the person of the name and the location of the hospital to which the infant was transported. Maintain confidentiality, as public disclosure is prohibited. Emergency medical professionals, employees, or other persons engaged in the administration or operation of a fire station are prohibited from publicly disclosing any information concerning the relinquishment of the infant and the individuals involved, except as otherwise provided by law. Report data to DCFS. DCFS will collect and analyze information from fire stations and other safe havens regarding the relinquishment of newborn infants and placement of children under the Act. Fire stations have an important role to play in saving the lives of vulnerable infants and protecting their parents from prosecution. The Safe Haven Law provides immunity from criminal or civil liability to a fire station and its personnel for acting in good faith in accordance with the Act. However, nothing in the Act limits liability for negligence for care and medical treatment. For questions or more information, the following resources are available. Thank you for viewing this training video. Please also read the very brief supplementary Fire Station Safe Haven Training Guide to learn additional details about the requirements of the Abandoned Newborn Infant Protection Act.